Hello, everybody, and welcome to Uproot Reddit. Let's face it, hospitals are the most depressing, stress inducing places in the world. And it's not just from the patient's perspective. More often than not, it's from the doctors' and nurses' perspective, too. Day in and day out, they are constantly pacing on the hospital floor, moving patients or tools from one room to the other. So, for those of us who frequent the hospital, or even the doctor's office for a yearly checkup, we have to remember that doctors and nurses are people too. They experience all kinds of emotions, yet they remain calm when stressful situations arise. They have to, for the patient's sake. But what happens when a patient's family gets a little too involved and pushes a doctor or nurse too far? Reddit user Terrific Moose was just caring for a young adult patient. Nothing out of the ordinary here, right? Well, not if the patient's parents could help it. In today's post, entitled parents think they are entitled to their adult daughter's medical records to help them shame her. Now, I understand that you would need to check up on your daughter, but to do what now? Here's the unnecessary drama that went down. In healthcare, one of the most difficult things to deal with are family members of patients. They are understandably angry, upset, grieving, devastated, and often feel helpless. Most of the time, I try to understand this and not get too annoyed when family cause problems. But these parents were on another level. One of my patients was an 18-year-old woman who had a pelvic infection. She got very sick and required a moderate stay in hospital. She was a dream patient, open, honest, and generally a lovely person. Her parents were none of these things. Every day they would come in and start demanding this or that or the other thing from the nurses on the wards. They wanted an extra bed in the room so the mother could stay overnight. Honestly, it's COVID times. You're lucky you're even allowed to visit. In many places, no visitors are allowed. You can't stay overnight. Not anymore. They were rude to the student nurse who was doing their daughter's obs, to the point that the charge nurse moved the student nurse to a different set of patients to get her away from them. But when the doctors were around, they were the sweetest people you ever met, right up until we were out of sight. Or we said no to one of their requests. They were disruptive, loud, and just generally obnoxious people. Thankfully, their daughter was aware of their crazy behavior and had informed us that she didn't want them to be told anything about her condition unless she approved it. She was a legal adult, so she was entitled to her privacy. This wasn't a huge issue to begin with, as she shared most of the details with them. But then her mother Googled pelvic infections and discovered that sometimes they can be caused by sexually transmitted infections. Dramatic music intensifies. I wonder where she got that information from. As far as she was then concerned, we had screwed up and gotten the diagnosis wrong because there was no way there was any possibility that her angel had even thought of having sex with a boy. They demanded to see their daughter's medical records so they could prove that we were lying about the infection. Politely telling them to screw off was the highlight of my week. Unfortunately, that wasn't the end of it. They came in the next day with legal papers trying to demand we hand over the medical records. Turns out they lied to the lawyer because the papers were for a minor still under guardianship of the parents, not a grown woman. They then threatened to sue each of us individually. This isn't America. You can't just sue doctors randomly. They then tried to get some crackpot alternative doctor in to check her hymen. Thankfully, the daughter screamed bloody murder when the guy tried to examine her, which resulted in me getting to watch security escort and trespass a lot of them off the premises. I honestly hope she presses charges for that. And here's some edit from Terrific Moose. Quote, edited for spelling. Oops. Also, thank you to all you wholesome people having such an open and honest discussion about women's bodies in the comments. Now, this wasn't intended as a body positive post, but I'm happy it turned into one. I don't know how you healthcare workers do it. Day in and day out, you have to deal with stressed out parents who are worried about their child's health and well-being. And while some patients and their families do ask crazy, ridiculous requests under stressful circumstances, these entitled parents are just looking for many excuses to become control freaks over their daughter's life, of which she is a patient who needs tending to, and not them. And taking medical records just to shame the daughter? Really? Is it so important to talk down on your daughter who needs medical attention at the time? Not only that, but taking medical records is classified, important, and valuable information the healthcare workers keep to themselves unless asked by the patient, not the patient's family. But then again, these are entitled parents that would take anything deemed important. And it's not just these entitled parents that take important things from others. Reddit user Serene Chaos 32 created the iconic Baby Yoda for their niece. It was supposed to be the gift of all gifts. That is until this happened. In today's post, entitled woman takes my niece's Baby Yoda I made for her. Emphasis on the word made. To all the Baby Yoda fans out there, I hope you have your pitchforks and torches out and ready. Recently, my sister and her husband came to really like Baby Yoda, the child in The Mandalorian. I crocheted and made them a Baby Yoda, something my 4-year-old niece liked as well. I ended up making another Baby Yoda in purple, my niece's favorite color specifically for her. Aww, how sweet. Yesterday, I was babysitting my niece and we went to Walmart to pick up some snacks and ingredients for dinner. My niece insisted on bringing her Baby Yoda with us. It happened fast while I was picking through bags of spinach. My niece, who was in the shopping cart, began screaming and crying. Despite not having any children yet, I am more than a little of a mama bear and instantly abandoned the spinach to check on her. My niece was halfway out of the cart, still screaming, pointing at a woman who was walking away with a very familiar purple Baby Yoda in her cart, heading towards the registers. Oh, no, she didn't. I picked up my niece and stormed after this woman, abandoning my shopping cart as she turned into a register. She had put her things on the checkout conveyor belt when I got there. Most of her things already scanned, and she was trying to discuss prices for the Baby Yoda. It's not in the best of shape, and the price indicated it was $12.99. Could you give me a discount? I marched over, my sobbing niece in arm, and snatched the Baby Yoda from the surprised clerk who was checking for a tag. The entitled woman screeched as she grabbed at the toy as well. Now I understand the mantra taking candy from a baby, but taking a Baby Yoda from a little girl? Are you absolutely out of your mind? How dare you? I'm buying this for my daughter. She loves purple and those other ones are all green. This belongs to my niece. I made it for her, I snarled. Liar, you're just angry I got to it first. A manager must have been attracted by the noise of screams because he approached, a less than pleased look on his face. Is something wrong here? The entitled woman pointed at me with her free hand. This woman is trying to take this doll I'm trying to buy for my daughter. I was still trying to keep a grip on the Baby Yoda. I told you, I made this. I doubt the Yodas sold here are made from yarn. The manager called security after a moment of trying to mediate, and I was forced to let go of the Yoda to talk to the guard. Luckily, I like to take pictures of my projects that I finished, so it only took a moment for me to pull out my phone and bring up a picture of the Baby Yoda when I had finished it, namely the picture on the link above. We both turned back to the cash register and my niece began to cry again when we saw the woman was gone and the manager approached us with a hard look. I realize that those toys are very popular, but you shouldn't try to steal one of a specific color from someone. I held up my phone, picture still up, and saw the man's face drain of color when he saw the toy in an environment that was very much not his store. But the damage was already done. He had sold my niece's toy to the entitled woman, and she had left. Somebody's about to get fired. Needless to say, I'm never going back to that Walmart, and my niece is still upset about her purple baby Yoda being stolen. I'm making another one for her currently, one that'll have her name stitched onto the back, so this will never happen again. To all the artists out there making baby Yodas, protect it at all costs. Find a safe, stow it in there, lock it up, and... Okay, I think you get the idea at this point. When it comes to making art with Baby Yoda, you don't want this entitled woman to come after it just to up and steal it. But that's with any art, not just with Baby Yoda on it. Art is valuable, precious, and takes a lot of time and effort to put together. Whether you knit, crochet, paint, work on Photoshop, honestly, whatever artistic medium you use to bring value to others, make sure to protect it legally so things like this won't happen. Or if not legally, make sure to stitch or write the person's name on it so others will see that it belongs to someone other than the thief. Ugh, entitled parents and entitled people in general stir up all kinds of unnecessary drama over little things, and unfortunately suck others into their own mess. And there are more stories like this. But we can't go through all of them today because that's all the time we have. But that's okay. We'll be back for more petty entitled control thieves posts right here on Uproot Reddit. And we'll see you all next time.